little snatches of, and it was all very fractured.
Yeah. I don't know.
And ad hoc, like, you know. Which is fine. The whole thing about NCAD is to be as fractured and ad hoc. And if you can get through 4 years of that, if anyone can get through that with some kind of sense of practice, or that they still want to do it, then you've graduated. That's essentially what it is.
Observational drawing techniques, colour theory, light drawing. So you are trained to a certain extent.
Well, I know that, but to me, I'd done all this and can draw. I wanted to know how to paint. That was just me.
Yeah.
So I figured when you went into a course that was called painting with a capital P, there'd be a certain amount of that. But they never really went further than acrylics and colour wheel and stuff. We'd already done that.
Yeah, but
well, I don't know. It's just fun. No, at the time I don't mind, like, because, like I said, it makes you. If you really want to do it, you have to find your own way and do it.
You do get, like, I remember talking to James Hanley and Mark Joyce and stuff about materials, and like you do get advice, but you're left to your own.
Totally, and like Ollie Whelan as well was great for materials, for recommending stuff, pointing you in really good directions. Yeah. And,
see, I don't know what teaching painting might have been like before. I don't know if there was some kind of system where it was like, no, here, and taking the brush off and going, look, do this.
Yeah, totally.
Well, maybe we're better off for not having had
it. In a way, yeah, but over recent years, I was thinking, like, Jesus, that could have saved me 5 years if someone just said, that's how you do it. Yeah. Having said that, if you're really going to do it and you find your own ways, you really know, I'm doing this because I really want it. It's not just one of a myriad of styles or techniques that you can kind of pick off the peg. Yeah. Because I think we live in a culture where we have this concept, not just in art or painting, that all these things are ready-made and you just pick the one you want, like you pick product in a supermarket. You know what I mean? All these different styles are there, the click of a mouse on your phone, the history of art at your fingertips, and it's just it's a seemingly linear progress of styles. This became this, became this. So just pick one, and you have a favourite one on each and every day.
Well, see, that's the other.
The reality of it is that each and every way of working, particular to each artist, has to be really worked through. So it's you're not just indulging. You know, you're not just doing it for fun anymore. These ways of painting that are there for really good reasons.
So, in other words, you can't just imitate the surface quality of
pastiche. Isn't.
You have to begin.
You have to be committed to it.
To paint in the same way that a person did, not by copying it, by going through the same.
Going through your proper till it drives you mad, and then still doing it. So you realise there's ways of things that work.
What's an example of that? Like, I remember you doing these Francis Bacon style paintings. So what did you do that was kind of?
Well, you'd lay down some big broad areas of paint and create this kind of space, a room or whatever. And then like throwing lumps of just thick paint at it, maybe with a palette knife or just heavy brush, a loaded brush, and then start swirling it around. And
but you'd have source images, like
and some kind of idea of the way he did it, and see what you can get out of that process.
The way he did what, collected images?
No, the way he'd like he'd work from an accident and just extrapolate different things, and kind of in a Picasso way as well, these plastic lumping figures that would.
But before you get to that point, you've collected images.
Oh, you just you've looked at as many.
But what I'm saying is, like, was it the case that you collected images in the same way that he collected images?
Yeah, you tried, because I got those Muybridge images because I knew he did. Tried to go to the sources that he did.
What's Muybridge?
The sequential pictures of animals and humans in motion.
Oh, yeah.
I sourced them in the library, took hundreds of photocopies.
It's the zoetrope, isn't it?
Yeah, with the grid. I think I still have. They're probably in a box. I've recently just took these boxes from home from NCAD.
They're kind of some of the basis or some of the context for the space, the rim that he would build, or that kind of grid.
Well, no, he would create a space by a curved. Say, for example, and he'd use acrylics for that part of the painting. He'd just say have a curved wall or a corner space, really simplified, so it just gives you the idea of this lurid coloured room.
Yeah, but when you think about stuff that all of his figures occur in a space like that, it's kind of like those zoetrope images.
Oh, totally.
Where they have that grid, which is there as a scientific thing to kind of
just take measurements.
Scale.
But the point was, like, we were given a project to do basically a cover version of an artist.
Yeah.
Remember Tim Millen took Anselm Kiefer. I don't remember who you did.
Gustav Klimt.
Yeah, I did Bacon because it was just do the most obvious one. I think that's what they were trying to get us to do.
That's
take your hero and deconstruct it and get it out of your system.
Yeah, they deliberately said that. So, mine was kind of much more naive than yours. But and you did painting from heart transplant.
Yeah, in a de-Kooning. I tried to push it to a de-Kooning kind of state because I think I was into him that term, the move from Bacon to de-Kooning. I think he sent me a photograph recently that I don't know where he got it from. He emailed it to me. Somewhat that maybe he took an NCAD when he came in to visit for a day. It was just me with the start of that canvas, and I didn't recognise it for. I said, "What the hell was that picture?" Because it looks kind of cool and interesting. And what the hell? Just a student piece. I don't know what became of it, whether it was that one or not. It was just the basic preliminary.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you sometime.
What made you look at de Kooning? What attracted you to it?
Just the sheer freedom of... It seemed to be the next step. You had the idea of a linear progression from
From Bacon to
de Kooning, yeah.
Really?
Where the figure just melts into this.
Are there particular paintings of de Kooning's that you think would bridge the gap?
No, it just seemed to me he was like the acme of this field of painting, which is full abstraction. Still very meaty and bravura and drippy and like what they say, painterly. That word that a lot of people hate.
So you kind of came to abstraction through Bacon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's considered semi-abstract. Still, figuration pushed to the almost abstract. As if that's the standard linear figuration eventually, which is not necessarily true. Almost, I think, for me, has gone the other way.
And then from de Kooning through to
Richter.
As
a volte face, or whatever you call it.
Is there
it wasn't, the point of that was, it was the opposite. It was to flip it completely.
How do you mean?
That's like the opposite of de Kooning, a completely different kind of painter. And when I saw Richter, that was it.
What Richter paintings did you see?
Just the first few. You'd go into the library and
not the colour field ones though.
No, the photographic ones.
Yeah.
I don't remember which ones exactly.
So you went from going from Led Zeppelin to Kraftwerk. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
because was there a point then that you got sick of the Kooning and the abstract expression?
No, I don't. Looking back, I think I was in that, and it was in second year, and it was a very finite time to do these blocks of work. So I knew by dipping into the field of abstraction, like, this is going to take years, and I don't have the time.
Yeah.
The commitment to being like a painter like that. And it's obviously so open plan. Everything is so open and fluid. Quite literally, because it's dripping. More the paint ended up on my pants than on the canvas, and everything.
So you were looking at de Kooning and going, that's a lifetime.
That's a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I have. And I want to try other things, and maybe other things.
I want to see other painters.
And life was so chaotic as a young man and a student and everything. I think I was just like, no, this is too.
It's a very self-indulgent kind of...
Yeah, I need something more ordered. And of course, when the tutors come to you and ask you questions about it, you honestly can't answer them.
Yeah.
You just, I don't know. I don't really know. I'm just looking for a certain kind of feel. And it's all too...
Yeah. So what you're referring to is that kind of abstract expressionism.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, it's wordless, or it's kind of...
It's amazing, and on its day, when you really feel like it's beautiful... But it's the point, on an off day, you just have to admit to yourself you've no idea what you're doing. And like, you had to have a real feel for paint, probably built up after a couple of decades of painting traditionally.
Yeah.
I didn't at all. You're just starting and you want to do this. So it's really not as easy as it looks. You've really no idea really why you're So after a while, anyway, I just saw, and looking at the Richter stuff, it was more of.
So if you drew a line from the 2000 AD Screaming Pope cover to Bacon to de Kooning, which I can see would happen quite naturally, and that's all about materials and the material itself, and then there's this jump to Richter, and that's on the basis of a reaction to de Kooning and throwing out
everything that had gone before.
Yeah,
it's kind of recreate yourself.
But is there anything back in the comic books that you see in Richter?
The control,
just the scale,
the pure control of it.
When you think about it as well, it is like a storyboard.
Yeah, and there's
Richter's work.
Especially in the books of him, there was like you'd flick through these pages and there'd be loads of them in boxes, like a comic book.
He would literally have it like there were cells.
Well, he had his Atlas book where you just had page after page. I have a copy. That's in a box.
Fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's lying around the room here. It's in one of these boxes.
When you think about it, that's what de Kooning was trying to undertake in one painting. If you took the Atlas series, that would be the equivalent of it's like the Atlas series is one painting. It's this overwhelming fucking huge amount of work. Literally where the soul is poured out, but it's poured out one photograph at a time.
But is it really a lot of work? It's this collection of photographs pasted to boards. It's just automatic. And it doesn't his assistants do it?
I don't know.
And I did stuff like that in third year. I was collecting these stacks of photographs and just laying them out. I was trying to work through these.
But the process is kind of... It's like Boltanski collecting loads of fucking suitcases or something.
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's like this kind of heroic.
The whole thing is also where painting meets conceptual art.
This was what
Richter is. That's what he represents. And to be honest, I was semi-obsessed with Richter until I actually saw his work.
Where did you see that?
In London, in the Whitechapel Gallery.
And what did you see?
Just a bit of everything. There was his...
It was a retrospective type thing?
Yeah. And it was like, fine, that's done. I'm glad to see... The feeling was... It's really impressive to see this room full of all this stuff. It's beautiful, all as a piece, as an installation, which is all it is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I didn't leave it feeling inspired, thinking, I'm gonna. It's like that's done.
Yeah.
That's done, right? Because there's a certain everything he does. There's a certain. It's just locked away like a beautifully printed photograph. It's done. There's nothing more to add. And that's intrinsic to his entire.
But is there also a hint in what you're saying of like you were disappointed when you saw it?
Slightly, yeah.
Because it's too...
There's nothing more to say.
Was it a little bit dry?
Very dry. Yeah. The surfaces are literally very dry.
Yeah.
Gloss. They're very dry.
Yeah.
Almost. The person I was with, my friend, she lived in London, so she came along with me. And she was like, she just said it with no compunction, like... Very dry, very cold, very analytical.
So when you saw it in the flesh...
Very German, she said.
It's all come to a point exactly where there's this dryness and you're suddenly confronted with the German analytical way of...
pure efficiency.
And did you...
Even the abstract pieces.
Did you ricochet back to...
Bacon
or de Kooning or abstract expression?
No, nothing, I was kind of lost. Yeah. But then I might have been a few months later, I saw Peter Doig in the Douglas Hyde.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? You can't do this.
Yeah.
This isn't, you can't, it's not, I was thinking like this, because it was so, to me it was like, you're not allowed to take this much pleasure in, you can't do that, it's not fair. Why are you allowed to enjoy painting? It's supposed to be hard, it's supposed to be serious.
Because Doig is like a cheerful version of Philippe Guston or something.
Yeah, but it was obviously photographic based.
Yeah.
And as like photo painter or whatever time, so there has to be, the whole point of doing this is that there's rules. I was like Walter in The Big Lebowski, there are rules. Yeah. This is painting, this is not, there are rules that you have